4 years later now, what do you have to say about the state of the investigation now?
I didn't think it would go 4 years without finding my mother. I think that the investigation is currently being reimagined and viewed multidimensionally, which I really appreciate, and it's something I've been pushing for since its inception.
What are the new facts that you've learned about the case now that you haven't mentioned before? Start with the break-in to the bedroom. What do you know about that?
Well, there are a few things. When I first arrived on the scene, the only sign of forced entry was the second floor balcony of the master bedroom. Somebody had gotten on the second floor of the roof and kicked in the door from the outside. And so the wood trim from the door was shattered inside my mother's master bedroom. So the conclusion I reached from that is that she sequestered herself in her master bedroom as a means of protection because she knew that something was coming. In my theory of the crime, Keith Harper, first of all, there's no meadow to mow, so that's just a lie and a fallacious statement. There's never been a reference to a meadow, so whatever meadow he's mowing is in his mind. But I do believe that that was his pretext for looking the other way while other actors were able to gain access to my mother's master bedroom by climbing onto the roof and breaking in from the outside. And then I think they put her at gunpoint, took her somewhere else, and, I don't know what happened from there.
Well, you think she's been murdered, right?
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Tell me, what does it take to get up to that second floor balcony? Is there a stairway to it, or what would it take?
There's no stairway to it, and it's a relatively steep pitch, so it would take somebody with agility and skill, certainly.
What would you have to climb up? If you had a ladder, could you get up on it?
If you had a ladder, it's possible.
If you didn't have a ladder?
If you didn't have a ladder, I don't see how it could be possible.
Okay. The balcony, the window is broken, you say?
The trim on the door, especially the vertical trim, was broken and shattered. And the lock, the deadbolt, it was all kicked in from the outside. So the window, the glass itself wasn't broken, but the actual wood you could see scattered throughout the master bedroom.
Okay, so why don't you tell me, you've been going to law school now?
Yeah.
You know a bit about conspiracy law?
Yeah, that's what I've been studying, yeah.
Well, you've been studying the law. Did any of it have to do with this case and your mom disappearing, that you want to know more about criminal law?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, 100%.
What have you learned?
Well, I've just learned simply that if the district attorney, if the Department of Justice, if the Federal Bureau of Investigations really wanted to wreck shop and crack skulls and get something done, there's a number of charges that they could ring up on these people and get the process of justice started. So I think there's a lot more creativity and latitude and reimagining of the case that can be done to really get answers. I know Alberto Loureiro, who is a tremendous investigator in and of himself, has a lot of evidence. That's been told to me numerous times, that there's a lot of evidence that obviously hasn't been brought forth. But the FBI needs to be involved at the bare minimum one, because I know there's a conspiracy, meaning there's more than two or more people making it federal jurisdiction. And two, if we're talking about him crossing state lines with a body, which Chad Bianco mentioned, and other people have mentioned, then that would necessarily bring it into federal jurisdiction.
Well, so you mentioned a conspiracy, and to me, there's a lot of little bits of evidence that pile up, but none of them seems to be the smoking gun. None of them seems to be enough to make an arrest. The evidence of a conspiracy, and to me, the most compelling evidence there is this break-in to the truck on the property shortly after Dia went missing, days after Dia went missing. Can you explain to me what happened there?
In the immediate days following Dia's disappearance, the possession of the property was still in my sister and I's hands, and the police had cordoned off the property as a quasi-crime scene. It wasn't officially designated a crime scene, but they told everybody nobody is to be allowed on except Isidro Garcia, who was my mother's employee and ranch hand. But Diane Feder, with another individual, snuck onto the property, which is not easy to do given the barbed wire and a large fence. I mean, it takes significant effort. She found the truck, so she grabbed, and this is by her own admission in the recordings that we have and in her deposition, that she took a gun. This is just what she has said. I don't know what else she has taken, but she took a pearl-handed .38 special revolver. She took some jewelry, and she took what most people have told me was the most significant item, which was the garage door opener to the toolbox property, my mother's toolbox property, which contained a number of safes.
Did Diana Feder have the combination to that safe?
She had. What's really interesting to me about this entire case is that my mother was the most distrusting person that I have potentially ever met of strangers, and somehow Diane Feder managed to procure her safe codes, keys to her home, access to her entire phone and all the passwords. She had passwords for her phone and her computer, etc. She had a key to my mother's safe deposit box.
Was your mom distrustful of you?
She was distrustful of everybody. Yeah,
Did she have reason to be distrustful?
No, certainly not.
Because I'm wondering why she may have changed her will. Do you think she changed her will, her trust to write you out of it because she was distrustful of you?
I don't think it was based on a mistrust at all, because we spoke extremely often, even when there was, whatever litigation. It was always, "I love you," after every conversation.
Well, the reason I ask you that is because if you talk to Keith Harper, if you talk to Feder, they say that Dia said, if anything ever happened to me, it would be my son. They point to you as a financial motive, and the changing of the trust. I mean, what was your relationship like with your mom, and where does all of this come from, do you think?
Well, I think it comes from they have to have a boogeyman, an alternate theory of the crime. If they're ever brought into court, they have to try and raise a reasonable doubt. So of course they're going to say those things about me. That's never surprised me nor bothered me whatsoever. Whether or not my mom said certain things, obviously I can't testify to that because I wasn't there. But my mother, anybody who actually knew my mother knew that, maybe in a particular moment, just if you want to use an analogy of a stock market, she was a highly volatile stock with her feelings towards an individual. Maybe one day she could, feel extremely negatively towards you, and the next day you're a saint to her. And so, but the long-term trend line was always love. We always said, "I love you." She always said, "Nothing of any of this is personal at all. If you and Crisara were Mr. and Mrs. Smith or John and Jane Doe, I just have to file these documents within a certain amount of time, or I miss my deadline." It was not like there was some raucous, earth-shattering tectonic litigation going on. I would talk to my mom constantly.
Okay, but we do have a $300,000 reward, which I assume you're hoping could lead to the location of your mom's body.
There is a $300,000 cash reward out, separate in a bank, ready to go for anybody to come forward. They will remain completely anonymous unless they choose to not be anonymous, but they will be completely anonymous. They speak to an attorney who's bound by privilege and it's paid through a court-sealed document. So whoever receives the money, their name is never released whatsoever.
The $300,000 reward is split two ways. One, half of it for leading to the remains of your mom. The other half leading to the arrest and conviction of a suspect.
Yeah.
So this has to be important information.
Yeah, it has to be critical, currently information that the investigators are unaware of, either leading to the location of Dia and or the apprehension of suspects related to her disappearance.
You think somebody has this information and is...
I know a number of people have this information. Yeah, absolutely, unequivocally. And I think one of the things that's preventing them from coming forward is the fact that they feel that if they come forward, they will be in trouble or prosecuted or tried or whatever. And full immunity is granted and an anonymity is granted for anybody coming forward. And I personally do not care where it comes from, as long as their name is not Keith Harper or Diane Fetter, anybody can claim the reward. $300,000, court approved, all anonymous. So I implore anybody with that information to come forward, even if it's the tiniest thing,